Conversations, and I'm your host, Christina Lowe. And today I'm sitting down with Tiffany Calvert, founder of Onward and Upward Consulting. For 25 years, Tiffany built her career at Brown-Forman. Working with the team, she led enterprise organizational performance, succession planning, leadership development, and workforce analytics. It was the architecture behind how people and culture actually function inside a global company. She didn't just work in HR, she shaped how 3,500 employees experience performance, growth, and leadership. And then, after a quarter of a century, she stepped away. Now she's building something on her own, coaching leaders, designing strategy workshops, helping organizations prepare for their next generation of talent, and guiding individuals who are ready for what's next. Tiffany, I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. That's a great introduction.
Well, welcome. So you gave 25 years to one organization.
I did.
I want to talk about that. That's
Okay.
rare nowadays.
It is.
As you think back in your career, how would you describe that?
I would describe it as frequent change and reinvigoration in the mission or purpose of what I was doing. So in 25 years, I had 10 and a half jobs.
Okay.
And so every 2 or 3 years, I was doing something different or had grown my position, added something new, took on a different area. So by the end of 25 years, I had spent time in every vertical of HR except for compensation and except for recruiting. But I'd been a recruiter prior to Brown-Forman, so I felt like I had most everything. But at a company that size, there was always adjacencies to all of those departments. So I felt like I left being very well-rounded, and that's what kept me there for 25 years. It always felt like something different. The people stayed the same. The products came and went. But my position was able to grow. I was there.
And because it was such a large company, you could move around and felt like you were still growing by moving around.
I did. At the time when I was there, in that generation, I would say, they took a lot of pride in promoting people from within. And in the last decade or so, they spent time recruiting from the outside to infuse new talent and new ideas. But I was there at a time when they really looked from side to find out who was the next person for the open position. So I was really lucky in that way.
And how did you get started in the spirits industry?
Well, I'm a Louisvillian, and there's food, there's healthcare, there's alcohol, there's horse racing. All of those are great industries. And at the time, I was working for a small company, and I wanted something stable. I would wake up back in those days and read the newspaper, the Courier Journal, and find out what companies had merged with who. And I was in the accounting field. And so I really wanted something stable. And so Brown-Forman, I applied 5 times.
Oh, wow.
On paper, with paper resumes. And I finally was hired because of my contributions that I had made in a writing portfolio to Today's Woman magazine.
Okay.
And
that's
so
what made you stand out.
That's what made I stand, because I don't have a background in HR. I have a background in people, sales, marketing. I have a psych degree, but I never thought I would be a human or personnel back in those days, personnel professional. So it was just a blessing, I think, that my writing portfolio stood out, and they knew I could communicate complex subjects like compensation plans and healthcare plans to people. So I was lucky.
And then you stepped away. What surprised you most emotionally?
Well, one of my flagship specialties is on readiness, believe it or not, creating workforces that are ready for change. From the individual perspective, whether it's ready for change or ready for promotion, that doesn't matter. Just being ready. And I wasn't ready. It was so funny. I hadn't turned the lens back on myself. I knew what it took to be ready and to be prepared. And I had a plan B always. I always had something else going in my mind about what the future would look like. But just a conversion of really big moments all at the same time left me a little surprised at the timing of it. I had weathered on the inside of the company so many other divestitures and personnel changes and people leaving and coming and going and early retirement windows and rifts. And then I knew my number would be called someday.
Yeah.
And I was glad that it was called for a non-performance reason. That was great. I had excellent performance history, but I still found myself even surprised. So it's one of those things where you won't know until you know.
So you had no idea that day was going to be the day?
Did not know. Knew that the winds of change were blowing. In a relationship building company such as that, like many corporations, you can sense things. The closed door meetings are happening. The communication isn't as deep. It's there, but it's not as deep or forthcoming. And friends begin to talk.
Yeah.
So I didn't know it was me, but I knew it would impact my team perhaps, and it did. Mm-hmm. Many of them have gone on to great opportunities, and so that's been, as a leader, that's always on your mind is what happens to me, but also what happens to the people that I have recruited to become part of this experience.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting.
So after that, after you got the notice, what did you do next? Did you take time for yourself, or did you just jump right in?
I somewhat regret not taking the time others have taken. I had a good friend of mine, something similar had happened to her, and she said, go take a trip just by yourself, get out of town, unwind your routine. And I had lived a routine for that many years. Well, I didn't. I made, if you would see my office, I still have them as a memorial, flip chart paper where I wrote a list of the top 100 things I could do and that I needed to accomplish, podcast subjects, blog subjects. I spent the first 2 weeks, this is a note to your audience, trying to reconnect with my LinkedIn page because many things were attached to my work email. So don't do that. Always have your backup or your recovery email, something personal that you'll have.
Yeah. Because did you have any time to go back to your emails?
Maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting transition for 25 years to kind of evaporate in a snap of a finger.
Yeah.
All your connections. And I still uncover things today. I flew Delta Airlines the other day and they don't have me linked. My recovery email is my old work email. And so I'm having to go through proof of identity to get that. It's just little things that you don't think of after, a quarter of a century. So, but I made the list and I started to get to work and I started to wake up my network. And being a Louisvillian, lived here, all my days, people are very gracious about wanting to connect with you, partly in sympathy, but partly in helpfulness. I just think this community really steps up when someone says they need something. And in some cases, it's kind of a compliment to yourself if you can help someone along when they're in a moment. And so had a lot of people help me. That was great.
But do you think it takes you to be vulnerable first before people will reach out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I had this left brain, right brain name for what happened to me. I was riffed, but they also let me retire. So from an identity standpoint, which was the one reason that made me feel better, and it vacillated through the next year up until recently.
Because they let you retire,
They let
but
me
it was
retire.
still under...
It was still not the timing that I had in mind for myself.
Yeah.
And I'd made some life decisions based on continued employment with that company. And those were my choices, but I wish that someone would have let me read a little bit of the tea leaves and I might have done things a little bit differently, but I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
And so it's time to make the most of it.
And you spent so much time there. I'm sure a lot of your identity was based on the title and the organization. Yeah. How was that then as you stepped away?
I went to a networking event and I stood up for the first time ever in my professional life. And I said, I am Tiffany Calvert. And I just stood there blankly. And because I used to say with Brown-Forman and people go, oh.
Because people, that comes with something. When you say you work at Brown-Forman, a
or
lot of people want to connect with you just because.
Sure, they want something. They want, you're bringing the champagne to the party. But I stood up and I said, "Oh, I'm Tiffany Calvert, and I need to get this story straight. I need to have something. I don't need to be in active job search mode." So I started to say silly things, get a laugh. That's my coping mechanism is self-deprecating humor, I suppose. But it was a really weird identity, and I had to fill out a hello, my name is without the company name. And that was interesting. It was, I realized at that point that I'd had it reversed all those years. I was Tiffany on loan to Brown-Forman. That was not connected. And I had a speaker describe it the other day. They said, if you take your fist and you push them together like this, it's yourself and your identity, and that's how we mush them together, especially American workers. What we have to do is work very hard, even while we're working, to split those, because if something happens with your identity, it doesn't impact your work. Most likely it's going to happen with your work, and then it doesn't affect your identity and who you are. So I was loaning my skills out to Brown-Forman, and that really helped.
So how would you describe today your identity?
That's a great question. So my identity is a culmination of the skill and the will that I have to interact and make workplaces better. I have had to sunset the priority over being a mom. My kids are grown and out of the house. I went through divorce. I have just my mom living. So there's all of these identity shifts.
Yeah.
I moved 3 or 4 times after the divorce to different places. I'm engaged now. I have all of these different shifts. Thank you. It makes me very happy. All these different shifts in my who I was. So I would say it's the thing that I didn't do 25 years ago was remember that it's going to constantly change and prepare for that. I tell young moms that all the time.
Yeah.
Start now thinking about what it's like when your house gets really quiet.
Because if you identify as a mom, they're only going to be in the house for so long.
I said in a speech, I was laid off and fired within a year. And being laid off as a mom was harder than firing my husband from my divorce and being riffed at the company that I was with for 25 years, because it's something that it just shifts, shifts into a new status.
Yeah. So what had you start your company, Onward and Upward?
The job market is a little crazy. So at first you get really excited when you're free of looking, you were always maybe looking in secret, or a headhunter would reach out to you while you're employed, but nothing was ever good enough for me to trade out my experience at Brown-Forman for anything else, even though I'd interviewed at other places. Well, now that the world was open to me, every job looked exciting. I mean, I applied for an anime job.
Give it a try.
Me? And they, aside from telling me that, lady, you are way out of our demographic. How do you only know anime because your son likes it? I just thought, what the heck? Throw spaghetti at the wall, as one of my friends would say, and see what sticks. Yeah. And the job market was, there's a lot to be said for how recruiting is today. A lot of bots are being used. There were 2 occasions where I had in physical job interviews with someone, and I got a rejection letter that morning, because the dispositioning system on their applicant tracking system had screened me out. But the recruiter, the human, had decided I was worth speaking to. So I couldn't really trust it, even though I paid for the upgraded services and those kinds of things. And I decided, why am I waiting around? I think that a good, solid W-2 job is still probably in my future, but why not fill the time spent with something else more meaningful to showcase my skills? It can only help my portfolio. Yeah. Especially after my outplacement coach told me I needed to remove 10 years from my resume so I would appear 10 years younger than I actually am, and to make sure I kept my hair colored.
This is what we need to worry about?
This is what we need to worry about, evidently. And, like it or hate it, it's a fair truth. And having hired a lot of people in my life, you want to know that you're going to make an investment. But I'm like, dang it, I've got 15, 20 years left of work. Yeah. Just because the word retirement comes in play does not signify that you're done thinking, learning, contributing. So then I stopped using the retirement word, and I started saying that I was part of the RIF, and I got more comfortable with that. And then the recruiters were like, okay, we heard about that one. We read about it in the newspaper. It makes sense the department that you were in would shrink at a time when you're trying to, shift monetary resources to other areas of the business. So it all made sense. Yeah,
but it is hard. I mean, I was severanced out of my company, and it's like, how do you describe it where you were there for so long and built so much, but then at the end it just came down to numbers? And if, at the time I was looked at a cost center because I was under the wrong team because we were with private equity, and there wasn't enough understanding. But as much as you can make excuses for it, it's a RIF. It's a severance.
It is more about, as you said, the department or the cost center that you were in than it is about you. Yes. And that's, again, that detachment that we need to make from that. It is a numbers game.
So had you been thinking about starting your own business?
I have for a long time. I was inspired about maybe 15 years ago. I was a board member of the conference board, Human Capital Analytics Conference Board. And we were sitting around at a restaurant called Haru, which is a sushi restaurant outside of Times Square. And that's where our meetings always were. And I bought the domain Haru Leadership, which is basically, it means sunshine in Japanese. And I imagined this collective, this website, where it would be a curated list of people that I knew and that had skill sets adjacent to mine, and that we would support each other in helping craft a comprehensive service model. Mm-hmm. Well, I got that kicked off, but I just didn't have time to feed it. Mm-hmm. And as you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to continue to work on the business even more than you work in the business.
Yeah.
So it took a pause. Mm-hmm. And then I decided that April 1st, April Fool's Day, I knew that I was onto something when I sat down on a free Wix site and popped everything that I ever knew onto that website really quickly and thought, this is a lot. I've got some good things to share. So,
and what do you focus on mostly in your consulting business?
I like to say I focus on team effectiveness. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing a confident leadership series recently for a client, and they chose the modules, the ones that they needed most, out of a range of 10 that I offer. They chose accountability through feedback, delegating as a efficiency multiplier, and trust. Mm-hmm. But there was a wide range of things that they could have chosen. So I've put together I like to create something that's tailored to that experience and the issues that are going on in their company. So that's what I like to do most. Yesterday was a happy day. I had my workshop yesterday, my second out of 3. Mm-hmm. And I come home drained, but so filled up, because I can see the light bulbs pulsing in their brains. So.
And how did you get to the point where you decided what to focus on? Was it your career and what you learned from other people?
That was tough, because I felt like, if you remember the old watch salesman with the coat, you want a watch? Do you want a bracelet? Do you want? And with 25 years and 10 different roles within that, and then also being part of committees, being a skilled facilitator, being part of brand conversations, signing NDAs for this and that, mergers, divestitures, all the things that I had an opportunity to do, it was hard to decide where to focus. Mm-hmm. And as you might have seen, the market can be pretty flush with people that do what I do. So how do I stand out? And I had a friend of mine named Lance Mann ask me, what are you famous for? Mm-hmm. That hit me like a ton of bricks, because I can talk the talk. I can talk here, but what am I famous for? Okay, well, I'm famous for immersing myself in your workplace culture and delivering back to you the kind candor that your team needs to hear. Mm-hmm. Like, let's get real. Yeah. So real talk by real people about real things is a theme of mine. Okay.
And how do you sell that to new clients? Or is it mostly word of mouth, so they kind of understand what you are about?
It has been word of mouth. Mm-hmm. I've had some people that have exited past companies and have hired me. So that's been a really great blessing. I have a client that is outside of Louisville for the first time ever. And part of it has just been LinkedIn, resume building, seeing YouTube videos, word of mouth. It's been a culmination of things, a big recipe. I wish I knew what the secret sauce was.
But you're testing it out to see.
I am.
And do you see yourself growing your focus points depending on where the market goes?
I do see myself growing into other avenues. I like the exclusivity and the continued partnership by some of the clients that I have, longer term engagements. That is, it's not just the bread and butter for your bottom line, but it is also like an energy filler that you can continue to think about, and it replicates in some ways the experience I had at Brown-Forman, where I knew where I was going every day, the continuity of the less things I have to learn new, then I can get to less of the icing. I can get down into the cake. Yeah. So I see myself growing in that respect. I have colleagues all over the world that are waiting for the call to help support a international venture. So they are equipped and certified like I am, and have also had a different career shift. And so I feel like I could call them up and say, I've got this thing in Australia. Can you do this for me? That's what I dream about.
And you can guide them with your process.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, talk to me about the leaders that you help. Is it typical leaders that understand right away that they need some type of adjustment or focus? Or
I think a gap in the American workforce is that we promote people based on their past performance and just their sheer will or skill. But what we fail to do is stop and pause for a moment and talk to them about the human behavior piece of it. They're independent contributors that now all of a sudden have a group of independent contributors. They know this stuff. I use a lot of metaphors in my workshops to draw them back to things that are outside of work. That's the true practice point. So when you know how to guide your children, and you have children, they're different personalities, you try to make things even and love them the same, but you have to apply different techniques.
Absolutely.
It's no different than your team. And Susie and Joe might be doing the same work day by day, but they need different recognition mechanisms, or your emotional intelligence has to show up in a different way for them. So that's really where I think that I like to do that part about it. And that's what I'm finding that speaks more to leadership. Yesterday I did an activity where they had to build a puzzle together with very little instructions and watch the group come together to decide. The leader had to delegate because it was a topic of delegation.
Yeah.
And when they got to the point of delegation, they found it easy in that moment, but you add different elements to it, it becomes a little bit harder. And in a big reveal, one reveal that I haven't heard in a while was they admitted that sometimes pride and fear of failure got in the way of delegation. Pride because I've done it so well, that's what I'm known for, how could I give that away? Or fear of failure, the environment wasn't going to allow them to learn from getting it wrong. So they had to protect their employees. And that was a real breakthrough moment for that group. It's fantastic. They came to it on their own too.
Yeah.
It's great.
Interesting. And then do you give them tools then to work on after you meet with them?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm big on follow-up. There's a trailing comet of knowledge. Comet bursts through and everybody gets excited, that mountaintop experience, and then they go back to their workplace and they get busy with their task and they forget.
Yeah.
So it's leave behinds, projects that they can, even a photo reminding them of the activity that they took place in. So that follow-up is really critical. If you're not getting follow-up from your facilitator, then you've really just managed to have, an agenda keeper or an MC for your learning.
For a day. Yeah. And how does that work for you from leading teams and being there, I'll say on site, versus now as a consultant, you are guiding and advising, but then they have to choose, and teams on their own have to choose, but you're more on the sidelines now and they have to choose to continue the work.
That's been difficult. But it happened also in my corporate career.
Yeah.
You'd spend a couple of days at a retreat and then you'd see the same behaviors pop back up again, being a close-knit organization like my prior company, you knew that problems would resurface. It was a bit easier to reinforce the learning in that situation than it is now. I can't say that I don't like the leave behinds. So sometimes it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to know that you've helped with a problem, but not have to live through it. I equate it to what it might be like to be a grandmother someday. I get to love and leave.
Just love and leave.
So I may not need to change all the diapers, but a few are fine. So.
And what are you doing? I mean, so you started your own company.
Yes.
What else are you doing to stay busy?
Yes. So I am traveling quite a bit. My fiance and I have a boat, a sailboat. I spend a fair amount of time networking, and I'm part of the National Speakers Association. So I'm crafting speeches. I'm part of Toastmasters. Okay. I just stay busy that way. And, in addition, I have a daughter that still lives here. She's 23, but we are very close. And then my mother, who's about to be 90. So that keeps me busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think the Toastmasters and the other organizations helps network or keep you kind of staying connected within the corporate world?
It's interesting. We don't share contact information necessarily. Okay. So many of the people that I know, I don't really know what they do for a living. Now that's bad on me, but it's not really networking. It was, does it make sense when I say I needed to frighten myself? So I like adrenaline. And I was getting the adrenaline from the work that I was doing, bringing something special to an ideation session. Well, when that went away, I didn't have that anymore. So I was natural in front of a crowd since I was young. And I had that opportunity very frequently at my employer. Well, when I didn't have it, where was I going to get that? So a friend of mine, I saw her LinkedIn page. She was learning a lot, and I decided to go. It's from 6:45 in the morning to 8 a.m. So there's really no excuse not to go. It's not in the work day. So I showed up and I realized it's really difficult to speak in front of a group of professional speakers.
Yeah.
Because they all know what I'm supposed to say and how I'm supposed to say it. And I'm very aware right now that I say so a lot. That's my filler word. And I'm giving a speech on Thursday, and my remit to the person who's going to evaluate me is watch my so's, because I go so as a transition phrase. But it was just a way to, I think, stay invested in what the pace was. If you are in transition, and we are all in transition post-COVID, whatever you can do to get yourself up and get ready each day, put on real clothes, put on makeup, interact with the world, go to a coffee shop and see the comings and goings of people and know you're not alone. I highly recommend that, whatever it takes.
And it sounds like you're always stretching yourself and getting out of your comfort zone.
I try.
Yeah. I do understand.
Yeah.
I mean, the podcast, that's not what I'm,
You make it seem natural.
But it's
good at it.
uncomfortable sometimes.
Yes.
But it's about kind of a creative outlet as well as new opportunities.
I decided not to say no to anything. And in the beginning, and now I've had to say no to some things that don't meet the purpose of. You can get caught up in meeting people for coffee all day long, every day. And it's wonderful and it's fulfilling, but does it bring home your goal of making money or staying independent or finding a job, whatever your goal is? Not always. And so I had to manage my giving to the receiving side of me, or else I'm an obliger by nature. So if you've ever read The Four Tendencies, and so if you ask me to do it, I probably will, but it won't be necessarily always for my best interest. So I've had to start to say no to some things.
You've learned when to say no versus when to say yes. Yeah.
Exactly. No, I'm still working on it. I haven't learned that yet, but I'm trying.
And thinking about that, if someone was in their career, whether mid-corporate or thinking about something else, what advice would you give them?
And they're considering a transition. Don't wait.
Yeah.
There's no cost to exploring. I have told plenty of people as their HR partner to, if they weren't satisfied with what they were getting from their employer, well, try something else, apply for jobs. And they would say, you want me to leave? You're telling me to leave? No, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying apply, test in, prove in, and prove out what's going on. So if you're considering a transition, you don't really know.
Yeah.
I remember my son playing lacrosse here in the local community, and then they did a travel tournament up north where lacrosse is a bigger sport, and realizing they weren't as good as they thought they were until they tested themselves against something else.
Yeah.
You really don't know if you're good, if your excellent rating is good until you compare it to someone else's excellent rating. So don't be afraid, learn. And then you've defined the gap that you need to fill. And loyalty, I think, is the thing that kept me from doing that so much.
Yeah.
I was, it would have been awful if somebody had found out that I was looking for other jobs, or would it have been?
Yeah.
And so being ready in the concept called the readiness factor that I'm developing is being honest enough as a company to ask people what they really want. And then, but also at the same time, knowing that you're really not obligated to provide that. It's just an information exchange. Maybe you can get them closer to but not all of us can be, a vacation blogger for the rest of our lives, which everybody wants to be, evidently. So, but can you provide a travel experience that will help them? Or I worked side by side in Cube Life for a little bit to our travel planner at the company that I worked for, who had never been out of town and traveled on behalf of the company.
As the travel planner.
And not meeting planner. They traveled a lot, but this was a person in travel. And I thought, we should do a GoFundMe so you can go to one of these offices that you keep sending people to so you can have a real experience. And she's been able to retire and do some of those things. But that's the turn the stone over moment and explore what's next for you so that you can have a variety of options.
But it does sound, it's up to the employee and employer, where the employee has to go back to the employer and say, this is what I want.
Yes.
And then they can see from the employer, is it something they can give? And if it's not, then maybe that is time to go look elsewhere.
And I would say also, this is what I want should be expressed in the attributes of the work, not the title, not the dollars, not the
I want to manage people.
Hybrid,
or
remote, or whatever work design you like. It
Yeah.
should be said that I want more variety in the work that I do. I'd like to interact more with people. I'm data driven. I like to solve problems. Converting whatever that feeling is into the attributes of the job, you can pretty much find yourself working anywhere.
Yeah.
If I love people, so I want to interact with people. They fill my cup. I could be a server. I could be a daycare worker. I could be a corporate learning and development trainer. I could be a flight attendant. All those have people in them.
Yeah.
So then you've opened up your net really wide. And people love to help you fill that goal for yourself.
Once they understand what
Once they understand.
Yeah. We're going to move into a section what I like to call lightning round quick questions.
Exciting.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am a morning person that is reluctantly converting to a night owl. So my energy starts in the morning. I do my best work then. But my fiance works very diligently as a computer tech. And so he isn't finished until 5. And so kind of our life together starts at 5. I've always been doing that with my kids, but begrudgingly now it's more like, are we playing pickleball tonight? What are we doing? Watching a ball game, going to visit someone. So that's, and then I tend to stay up a little bit later. So we have some crossover time. As a mom, I was get the kids to bed and then go to bed myself so I could get up and start the same routine the next morning. And now I'm finding myself a little shifted. But
yeah. Favorite vacation spot?
I grew up going to Sanibel Island in Florida. It was devastated a few years ago in the hurricane, so I have not been back. It breaks my heart. I have a lot of wonderful memories with my parents there. My favorite vacation spot would be anywhere with the beach. I just came back from the beach, and I had been on the West Coast so many times, but never on the East Coast to see the sunrise in Florida. And I thought, it doesn't matter which side I'm on.
Yeah.
It's
beautiful.
Anywhere with the beach.
Favorite book that you would recommend someone read?
There's so many, but the one I've referred to most recently has been Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory. It's quick. It's quick-witted. I think everybody can get something out of it. I gave an autographed copy to my mother, who is very much a person, even at her age, that needs to just let people be and learn from that. And it helped me through some big transitions in my life. So that's
a freeing feeling.
It is.
There's so much that's out of your control. Let them.
And I had a phrase when I was going through my life transition with my divorce, which was, without my intervention, what will happen? Because I felt I was enabling, he was an alcoholic, so I was enabling a lot of things to happen. And I was providing coverage between a buffer between him and most everyone. And so without me intervening, the real perspective changed, and I also enabled people to the point where they didn't discover their own gifts and work. So I would protect them from extra scrutiny, or so let them, let them and let me mind my own business.
So you saw the enablement both in personal and professional.
I did. It comes from a good part of caring. And I've just recently been certified in the Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni. And I am an enabler, first of all, discerner enabler. So basically I can see what needs to be done and I can find a way to get it done. Well, that's awesome, except when people don't ask you to do that for them. And they are quite fine in their wonder or their tenacity, whatever that might be.
Or that they need to go through the steps.
They need to go through the steps. That learning is more permanent if you're not learning it for them.
One leadership mistake you see too often?
Oh, that's a great question. Not holding people accountable. I would say that candor is kind. The truth is helpful. And when you don't hold people accountable, it ends up disrupting far more than just you or the person associated with it. It has a cascading effect on everybody else in the department if people aren't in their lane and doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we do this for a lot of reasons, but not holding people accountable is a really unfair choice to everyone involved.
When I think about that, what I've seen professionally is they don't want to have the hard conversations, and it's easier to not hold them accountable than to go in and have what, quote unquote, hard conversation with them.
It is. And there's a way to have the hard conversation. I mean, simple, there's all kinds of formats out there, but you can use the high, low, high, or the the conflict sandwich where you do the positive, then you tell them what you really need them to do, and then you cheer them on at the end. Sometimes it's really just taking time. One of the things that I have in a process that I call the 5 P's of feedback is anticipating the reaction of the other person. And that helps you create a state of confidence when you're delivering that feedback. Mm-hmm. So if I don't know you, I might need to get to know you before I give you that feedback. Mm-hmm. If I know you and I have expressions of that, you get angry, you withdraw, you cry, whatever that might be, I can be prepared. Mm-hmm. And I can set it up at a time when it's the best for you to hear it and the best for me to send that message also. Mm-hmm. So it's if the second piece is also detaching yourself from the message. It's not me giving you the feedback. It's me highlighting something that's going to make you more successful in the future. Mm-hmm. And it is, if I'm a good steward of the job I've been given to do, then I would see it as a responsibility. Mm-hmm. I've had a couple of leadership mistakes where I wasn't ready to give the feedback. I was just caught up in the person's personal situation. Mm-hmm. I took on the work, and that wasn't doing anybody any good. Yeah. That person had a false sense of reality of what was required. I was overwhelmed, and then I got resentful. Mm-hmm. And so
But you had taken it on, so that,
yeah. I'd taken it on, and my boss said, if you were going to write the check for this person's salary out of your own wallet, would you be giving enough attention to this issue? And I thought, I'd write the check to myself because I'm doing the job. Yeah. And then I had the hard conversation. That was very early in my career, and I've leveraged that so many times. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think accountability is a key for leaders. Mm-hmm.
What is something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
Let's see. I have a fear of abandonment. So I was adopted. Okay. And I've met my birth mother, and I have met my birth brother, and I was raised by a lovely family. But I still feel unsettled about some relationships and things. It's called the primal wound. Mm-hmm. There's a wound that happens during that experience, and sort of leaning into that, I have made myself a better person and more understanding about those feelings of insecurity and properly placing them where it should be. And that's made me make better decisions, I think, in the past few years.
So it sounds like learning more about it has given you context around it to see how it affects you.
It has. Life. Yeah, it is. When I show up controlling, it's not that I would do it better, say it better, be better than anybody else doing it, is that I needed to grab onto that for the feeling of stability. Mm-hmm. So pretty deep insight.
Yeah. And have you been able to take that and then help others see maybe their shortcomings?
It's interesting that you say shortcomings.
Yeah, I hesitate on that word.
Yeah, that's an interesting word, because I think that we are all beautifully and fearfully, wonderfully made. Mm-hmm. And so it's a matter of shifting the energy to the spots that we're really good at. Mm-hmm. And many times being a square peg in a round hole just kind of felt like that's the way the world's supposed to be. Yeah. And I don't think it really has to be like that. Mm-hmm. I think that we can find the aspects or attributes of our work to make us feel, or our lives to make us feel more whole. Mm-hmm. And I think that there was this sense of gratitude for my upbringing that was a gift and a hindrance in a way, that exploring the reality of all of that would have been better served earlier in my life, I think. Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself if you're looking back at your early career?
My early career, I say this to my kids all the time: move out of Louisville for a little bit. It sounds crazy. Yeah. I have this workshop where I do and my introduction is the tale of 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. I literally have lived now it's 12, but I lived within 10 minutes of my childhood home my entire life. Wow. But I've traveled the world. So I've been to 25 countries, but Louisville has always been the home. Well, what did I miss out by not moving somewhere else and recreating an identity or finding a new network? I can't go anywhere in this vicinity and not see somebody I know. Mm-hmm. And that's wonderful for a person like me. But it's also, what did I miss out on because I have that level of comfort? Mm-hmm. And so I would say, turn over every stone when you're starting your career. Don't be afraid to make those big moves. Mm-hmm. You can always come back.
Because it's easier in the beginning when you're not as settled.
It's so much easier, and everybody's doing it. I do think that there is a possibility that younger workers can get isolated because they are choosing lifestyle over the work. And lifestyle would mean I was working with a client, and he wanted to find the lifestyle job, and his lifestyle was playing kickball and running. He was an ultimate runner, and pickleball, and those things have designated times to play them. Then the straw that broke the camel's back for me being able to help him was that he also plays online video games with his friends that are in other time zones. And I was like, what can you do to work? Because you need to start your own company and design your life around that. And that's about all you can do with all of those constraints. And we're not even talking about a girlfriend or kids at this point. So I do feel like if you're going to choose the lifestyle, remember you should put in the hard work in the beginning, and you've developed that credibility, you know what you're doing, and then you can add the lifestyle things later.
Do you think that helped you as you started your company, as having the credibility and the experience to lean back on?
I do think so. I put in hard and long hours. And there's a lot of sacrifices that people make, especially working mothers, and I put all those in. They afforded me opportunities to do things in my career that helped me add to my toolbox that I could use now. Yeah. And so I have a wide range of experiences. And I was telling my daughter the other day, there's a 10 attribute list of the bosses that you'll have. You'll have the really giving boss, but won't tell you the truth. You'll have the recognition boss. You'll have the crappy boss. You'll have all the, and she has a boss right now that she's trying to figure out which she gets to cross off. And I said, somewhere like the trifecta, you get to cross off all. And once you manage those, then and it's the same way with life and work, is that it's good to go through all the phases. Yeah.
What do you see for your company this year and beyond?
Well, that's exciting. So I'm about halfway through my book, and so I'm excited about that. Called the Readiness Factor, and if I could, I started off thinking it was going to be like everybody can wear Cinderella's shoe, something like more romantic and things. And now it's down to, the critical, like almost like a guidebook of how to do how to do succession planning. Yeah. In a world where HR professionals are stuck with a 9-box grid of telling people they're correctly placed, and it doesn't mean anything.
I've done those before. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that framework was designed in the late 80s, and how much has work changed since then? So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. And taking that process. One of my other favorite things to do is make information accessible to all levels of the company. I don't have, $2 words that are grounded in PSYOP language and industrial psychology. I think that they're wonderful and they're in my brain, but I want my materials to be accessible to everyone. I honestly try not to have workshops separated between manager and employee because they should be speaking the same language. And there is some specialness about being a manager, but that is lessened. The specialness is lessened, and the distance between leader and employee is lessened when they know what's expected of them. So why not have everybody learn? There's no secret.
Same language, same page.
Pull back the curtain and show what's behind there, because they're your future leaders anyway. You kind of double dip in that way. Yeah.
All right. If someone wants to get a hold of you for their next training, where would they find you?
They would find me at onupgrowth.com.
Okay.
Onward and upwardgrowth.com works also, but Tiffany at onupgrowth.com. And I have a YouTube channel and other things like that are out there. I'm continuing to define that. And that's where they'd find me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
This has been great. You make things so easy.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to TriPoint Conversations. Sure. Thanks for listening to TriPoint Conversations. Make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with a friend or someone who's navigating their own next chapter. And if you know a story that deserves to be heard, or maybe that story is yours, head to TriPointStrategicGroup.com and send me a note. I can't wait to keep this journey going with you and introduce you to more incredible people who are shaping their communities one story at a time.